Well, my friends, good morning, and welcome to St. Catherine's. On behalf of Father Pat and myself and this faith community, we welcome all visitors who are with us today. It's always truly a privilege to have you worshiping here with us. You know, I love the Easter season readings because we get to read the book of Acts. And Acts of the Apostles is filled with stories of miraculous healings, adventurous missionary journeys, courageous episodes of those who withstood beatings and imprisonment for the faith, and of course, dramatic conversions like Paul's today. And when we read these stories, it's easy to imagine people from all different backgrounds being changed by the Holy Spirit as the apostles preached the good news of Jesus through the Roman Empire. And what a ride Jesus would take them all on. I'll tell you a story. When I was a teenager, and yes, I once was a teenager, kids. My hair
a long time ago.
Well, my hair was darker, and I couldn't grow these sweet sideburns here, and I was thinner. But other than that, I look exactly the same. But I remember one particular Sunday sitting between my parents in church, and there was a young mother in the pew in front of us who gave her rambunctious child a rosary to occupy him. And as I watched the boy play with the rosary, I could see the terror growing in my mother's eyes next to me, because the rosary is a very sacred, sacramental, and it's not a toy. And of course, as soon as the young boy saw me and my mom watching him, he began to swing the rosary like a lasso, and he shouted, "Hang on, Jesus, you're going for a ride." And at 13, I thought that was pretty funny too. But my parents, not so much. My mom smacked me for being disrespectful, and then of course my dad smacked me for disturbing my mom while she was praying. And at that moment, I can tell you, I did not have the same feeling of joy the apostles had when they suffered their beatings for the faith in the book of Acts. But reading the story of Paul's conversion, we are reminded that we can never predict how and where God's going to take us. And it's not difficult to imagine the fear in Jerusalem when they heard Saul, now Paul, was back from Damascus. I mean, Saul was a really bad dude. And some of them probably witnessed his involvement in the death of Stephen, and now they're being asked to believe that he had become one of them. I'm sure they all thought it was a trick. And it took Barnabas to show them the way, and just as God was found to be in the crucified Messiah, why couldn't he now be working through Saul the Pharisee? Sometimes faith demands that we take risk, because God can take us to the utmost unexpected places. The second reading from John talks about truth, which is also the theme in today's gospel. Jesus is the true vine, and we belong to the truth. And the truth is this: we must follow the two great commandments of Jesus, loving God and loving our neighbor in word and in action. Now, Christ is our leader and guide on this life's ride we're all taking. And Christ is as intimately one with us as he is with his Father. And it is this unity that produces the good that we do, even if we're not always aware as we should be. Christ lives in us as long as we do not sin. And if we're striving to live as uprightly as possible, then we are assured of his presence. So as it says in today's gospel, attach yourself to Jesus, the true vine. Your faith will be nourished, and you will remain in him. Now, how do we become part of that vine? Well, you have to be willing to obey the commandments Jesus has given us. You got to be willing to love each other and to love God. You got to be willing to forgive each other and trust God to forgive you. And you got to be willing to be seen with all the rest of the branches in the vine. And sometimes that can be difficult. Look who I have to be seen with. Then, now how do we remain part of the vine and produce fruit? By being willing to pray to him and listen for his answers. By being willing to worship him, even if it takes away from something we rather do Sunday morning, like sleeping. By being willing to trust in him, even when we think he's not doing enough. See, the Eucharist we celebrate today is our way of riding together with Jesus and his faith family. Listening and proclaiming his word, receiving his body and blood, and then going out empowered by the fruit, by going out empowered to bear fruit by loving as Christ did. So, be a faithful branch. Believe in Jesus, abide in him, love one another as he's loved us, and finally, be open to where God takes you and enjoy that ride. May God bless your kindness, and may the Holy Spirit protect you now and forever.